Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the RockCast, a podcast made by Rockhurst University students for Rockhurst University students and anyone interested in life at Rockhurst University. On the show today, we will talk to Jason Riordan, who is the Associate Vice President of Facilities at Rockhurst. So he's basically in charge of how the campus looks. The buildings, what's going to be built, what's being renovated, things like that. There's a lot of renovations going on campus right now. And there's more coming this summer and in the next 2 years. Some big, exciting stuff. Lots of really interesting developments there. So we will hear from him. We will also have a recap of RockStock, the annual student festival of sorts on campus that unfortunately had to be canceled last year because of the pandemic, but was back in some form or fashion this year, and it sounds like everything went really well. So that was this past weekend. We'll hear about that. And in addition to that, the listener submitted topic this week is mental health and mental health on campuses. And really not just Rockhurst campus. We'll talk about what support there is for students, as well as some of the organizations current and in the future that are going to help bring awareness of resources to folks and just opening up avenues where people can get assistance. And then finally, we'll have our I Wish I Knew segment, where we take a topic and the group will talk about how they do whatever that is now versus how they did it when they started college. So I wish I knew then what I know now, and then there it is. So this week's topic is very timely: exams, how to prepare for them, how to take them, because it is finals week right now. And we're very lucky to have some cast with us today for the RockCast in finals week. If you would introduce yourselves and tell us who you are, your major, where you're from, and in your opinion, the best and worst foods offered in the campus cafeteria. And we'll start with America.
Yes, of course. So my name is America. I'm a corporate accounting and finance major, senior from Shawnee, Kansas. And I haven't been to the caf in quite a long time since I am a senior. So last year and this year I lived in a house. But one of my favorite things, I'm not sure, maybe Bree and Jarrett can confirm if they still had it last year or this year, was they used to have like a stir fry, like an Asian stir fry, and they would have, my favorite was always the noodles. They wouldn't have the noodles every day because normally they would have rice and you could just choose which sauce you would want. And I really love Asian food. So you could like pick like what vegetables you wanted. So that was definitely my favorite. Or my freshman year, they also had like a sandwich bar and they would make like your sandwiches and you could have them like panini pressed. So that was always my go-to if I didn't like anything else. And then worst, the pizza, I feel like the pizza goes either way. Sometimes it can be like really good or like sometimes it's not good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna. I'm a sophomore here at Rockhurst, majoring in physics of medicine and minoring in leadership development and business from St. Louis. And I would say that my favorite food from the caf, I really like when they have their premium nights. The premium nights don't happen often, but pretty much you just pay like a little extra and they'll have like steak and like all these different sides. Or one time they had like a seafood pasta, which is really good. So I like that. As far as worst, for me, it's just certain foods that I don't like. Like, I don't like enchiladas. So like, it didn't matter like who cooked it. I'm just not an enchilada person. Maybe I haven't had authentic enchiladas. Maybe that's the reason why.
I'll make you some and you'll like them.
Ooh, yes. And then shameless plug, but Student Senate this week on the 5th will be hosting their last midnight breakfast. And that's from 8 to 10, and we'll be serving chicken and waffles. So definitely take a break from finals and come join Senate for our last midnight breakfast. So,
yeah, and if you don't have a meal plan, you can still come.
Absolutely.
That's what we like to hear. Well, anywho, I'm Jared Payton, second. I'm a sophomore, and I live in Chicago. That's where I'm at right now. And let me think. Okay. The best thing I had in the caf, and this is really funny because anybody that really knew me my freshman year knows that I lived in the caf. I think I went to the caf on average 4 to 5 times a day. It was just bad. I was just in there. But one thing I know for sure that I really liked, I did like the stir fry a lot, but I don't even know specifically what the sandwiches were, and it wasn't exactly what you were talking about, America, with the panini press thing. But there was one
They
of the
don't have that
chefs.
anymore. Sorry.
Yes, they didn't have it, so I don't think they had it my freshman year. All I know is it's this thing where I think it was corned beef or roast beef sandwiches, and one of them he made was this tall chef with blonde hair, forgot his name, but he made his homemade horseradish, and he put it on these sandwiches. It was the best thing since sliced bread. It was amazing, and he served it, I want to say, once or twice a week. I would always make sure I was like the first person. He said at 5 o'clock these are coming out. I would always make sure I was there for him. So I really liked that a lot. Worst thing in the calf. Ah, dang. Worst thing in the calf. Maybe I don't even really know because I'm one of those people where I only will eat what I like. Like I'm very picky. So if I smell something and it's just not it, you're all bets are off. I'm not gonna try it. Oh, okay. There was this weird type of pizza one day, and I did pick it up and try it. I don't know what it was. It was just a really weird type of pizza to me. I picked it up and I just really didn't like it. But that's it. Generally speaking, I feel like the calf food is amazing. That's just for me.
Thanks for introducing yourselves. I'm Chad Schnarr, the host. If you haven't already, those of you that are listening, be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to be listening to us. If you want to watch this, you can watch the Zoomcast on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/RockhurstHawk. And if you have any questions or topic ideas, send us a direct message on Instagram at Rockhurst University or contact us through rockhurst.edu. Okay, well, in case it isn't obvious to anyone who's been on campus here in the last year, there's some renovations going on. A lot of renovations going on. And obviously Sedgwick Hall is getting completely redone, but there's more than just Sedgwick Hall, just around the corner or across the quad, as the case may be. We're joined today by Jason Riordan, who heads up facilities on campus as the Associate Vice President of Facilities. And he's going to talk to us about Sedgwick and Massman Hall and what else is about to happen on campus. So Jason, first of all, welcome. And if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what it is you do for the university.
Chad, thanks for having me. So I'm in charge of facilities at the university. So facilities encompasses a lot of the things. It's the buildings, obviously. It's also all the grounds, and it's the repair and upkeep of both of those areas, as well as the cleaning of all of those areas. So that includes academic buildings, housing, residence halls, the community center. So if it's broken or if it's dirty, then our department is who you call to take care of both of those issues. And then just a little bit of background about me. So I've been at Rockhurst for a little over 2 years. I'm alumni as well. So I graduated back in 2005, and then I'm third generation Rockhurst. So my grandfather graduated and probably took classes in Sedgwick Hall back in the 40s. So lots of family history, and Rockhurst is very near and dear to my heart. So.
Excellent. And this wasn't really in our outline, but you're responsible for the tulips, correct?
Correct.
So how many did we have this year?
Just a little over 23,000.
Okay, great. And those are all up and out now. And then what gets put in there?
Matt Young and our grounds crew, every year in the spring they take all the tulips out, and then anybody from the community is able to come and pick those up. So we donated all of those this year, and then now they will start installing the rest of the plantings for the year in all of our beds. And then come this fall, we'll take all those plantings out, and we will put back in 23,000 tulips and start the process all over again.
That's awesome. I kind of have a question about the tulips. I know that's not what we're here to talk about, but is there a history behind it? Kind of when they started?
So, I don't know exactly when it started, but there used to be something called tulips on Troost. So it was for quite a while ago, it was something where it was an active amongst the community and businesses on Troost, to where everyone kind of planted tulips. It was a form of unity, and the tulips have always kind of been a part of Rockhurst ever since that program started. And so tulips on Troost, you'll still see it in some communities, but it's not really an active thing going on anymore, but we've kept on the tradition with our campus.
Perfect. And thank you so much for coming. Now going back to just the renovations that are happening on campus, I wanted to ask a little bit about Sedgwick. So could you talk to us about what the end product will be like, perhaps some of your favorite features in the building, and the timeline of when it will be opening and just available for students?
Definitely. So Sedgwick's been quite the process. We started it 2 years ago, and then last winter, fall of 2022, we closed down the operations of Sedgwick and we started renovation, the demolition of the interior. So we're able to keep about 90% of the original building, which was very important to us in the remodeling process. Sedgwick is very much in line with Rockhurst in general. So Sedgwick was Rockhurst at one point. It's been a high school, it's been a business school, it's been a lot of things over the years. So keeping that history and paying homage to it was very important, and it's also a very important part of our future. So obviously we've now have St. Luke's College of Health Sciences and Nursing as part of Rockhurst campus. They're currently renting a space in Westport, but the plan is that will be their home for the future. So Sedgwick will look quite a bit different from the quad once we finish the renovation. So it had a lot of stone before, and right now, if you look at it, you can see right into the side of the building. And in the grand scheme of things, when we're done, you'll still be able to see right into the side of the building, because what we're planning on doing is attaching 3 stories of glass directly to that concrete structure that you see on the quad side of campus. So from the quad, there'll be a lot of light and there'll be a ton of views that will look quite a bit different than what it was before. Previously, the back of Sedgwick was to campus, and now it'll be very inviting. Whereas the historic front to Sedgwick will remain unchanged. That will look exactly the same. We're going to restore the stone and we're going to install new windows. But outside of that, the front of Sedgwick will look almost exactly the same as it did on Troost previously. Now, what's going to go inside of Sedgwick will be quite a bit of classroom space and then a state-of-the-art simulation center. So the first floor will have some faculty offices for our new nursing faculty that are coming over and staff. And then there'll be an open area that'll be a 2-story space that'll be great for students to study in, hang out in. Something similar to kind of the experience when you get in Arupe. That was the idea behind it, a very big open space that'll be a great congregation area. And then the space that used to be the theater will now be a flat floor, a 100-person classroom. So it'll be a big open space, 2 stories tall. The classroom will have the ability to have a gigantic movable wall that will go down the center of it. So if we don't need a 100-person classroom, then it can be 2 50-person classrooms. The mezzanine level will have some lab space for the nursing program. And then the 3rd floor will be 100% dedicated to the state-of-the-art simulation lab. So we'll be able to use mannequins to simulate everything from broken bones to birth. And so all of our students that are involved in the health sciences, PT, OT, nursing, CSD, lots of other programs will be able to use that space to get real world experience, practice and education. And that's probably what we're most excited about, is that state-of-the-art simulation center and the impact that it will have on future student experience. And then for right now, the 4th floor will remain unfinished. So the very top floor we won't finish. That will allow for future growth. So as Rockhurst continues to grow, adds programs, adds students, we'll be able to grow into that space on the 4th floor, and so it'll be able to meet future needs. And then when it comes to timeline, so we're currently in the middle of construction. The plan is to be done with construction in around April of next year. So that means after graduation in May, We would move everything over from the facilities in Westport to Troost. And then from that point on, all of the nursing program from year one until graduation will be on our Troost campus. So that's kind of the plans of by the time the fall of 2022 starts, our nursing program and Sedgwick will be open for everyone to use.
Awesome. And then something that you mentioned that I think it's just good to like point out is that this building you mentioned would be kind of similar to Arupe in the way it's set up with like a lot of like space for students to be able to meet and study. So not only will this be like beneficial for our health and science students, but just really the whole student body as well. Because I know everyone really loves like going to Arupe and being able to study in between the classrooms.
We heard that feedback when we talked to students, and Arupe is a popular place outside of just when there's classes held into it. And anytime we're going to do a project like this, we want it to be the most beneficial as possible. So that, like I said, that main area will have what we're calling a porch, will be a one-story addition onto space that will be 100% designed for hangout/study space. And then just like in Arupe, on all the floors out, there will be nooks and crannies to study in various degrees of groups, whether it's 2 to 4 people or larger 6 to 8 person groups. So there'll be quite a few different spaces throughout the building that all students can use.
Jason, that's really cool. Just hearing like the different construction. And that was a really fun fact about how 90% would be kind of like the main structure. I think that's really cool. So during like the construction process, did you all run into any surprises along the way?
Well, with a 100-year-old building, you're always expecting to find something. So like when we started demolition and we started to take up the floor, we took up the first layer and the second layer, and by the grand total, once we were completely taking up all the layers of floor, there were 7. So that, each one of those layers is a point in time. So it's a little bit like an archaeological dig. So that we've found a lot about the history of the building. The building has, it's over 100 years old, and it's stood the test of time. And the goal is at the end of this project, it'll be ready for the next 100 years. So there wasn't any huge surprises, things we've had to encounter that is to be expected when it comes to a 100-year-old building. As soon as you open up those walls, there's always a few things you have to take care of, but luckily we're prepared for all of it. So.
Nice.
You mentioned something about, I want to say, state-of-the-art simulation, like space. I didn't really understand what that truly meant. Do you think you could explain a little bit more about what that is and how that's going to not just benefit, people taking classes in Sedgwick, specifically the nursing program, but the school itself?
Well, so when I say state-of-the-art simulation, there's mannequins. And these mannequins they're hooked up to computers, and they can display emotions. They can literally simulate live birth, as much as you can out of a mannequin. They can bleed. They can do all of that stuff. So it's the benefit of practicing on what appears as much as it can be to be a live person. But if you make a mistake, it's not detrimental to their health. So, and then the other thing is we'll have simulation capture technology. So when you're inside of a simulation, we'll be recording it the entire time. We'll then go to a debrief room to where faculty and students can sit down and basically play a highlight reel of what the simulation was. You can highlight things that it went well, and you can highlight things that people can do better the next time. So it's teaching moments. And the idea is to sit down in small groups and to talk about that simulation, talk about what you see on the screen, and then basically use that to improve your skills for the future. So, it's a great way to hone your skills. It's not a clinical experience, but it's the closest thing we can get to a clinical experience, in an environment without real human beings. So that's kind of what that will be on that third floor of Sedgwick.
That's so cool.
We got to see some of the simulation lab over on the Westport thing in one of the Westport campus. One of the interesting things was there's this control room, and they've got a microphone that the speaker comes out through the mannequin. So they're talking to the nursing students as though they were the patient and stuff, and they can be as friendly or as difficult as is possible to kind of help with the whole bedside manner stuff. So a lot of room for humor there, but also good teaching stuff. Jason, thanks for the information on Sedgwick. I got to tour it last week. We're documenting some of the progress through photos and stuff, and just seeing all that the construction company, in this case, J.E. Dunn, is able to do, or what they find and how they adjust is just amazing. Like just the settling that took place in the front of the building close to Troost, and how they just jacked that up in a day. Like they just moved the entire building. It's just phenomenal what they can do. So really interesting stuff. Across the quad from Sedgwick is Massman Hall, as most folks know that are at Rockhurst, and that is home of the cafeteria, or the CAF, or TMDR, Thomas More Dining Room. Also in the building is Einstein's, the Fishbowl, maybe Chapel, the Rock Room, offices, classrooms, all kinds of stuff. Jason, what kind of changes will students be seeing to Massman as they enter it next year? What's going on this summer?
Well, this summer is phase one of a remodel of the CAF, or Thomas More Dining Room. So when Father Curran announced the partnership with St. Louis, or the acquisition with St. Louis College of Health Sciences, obviously they needed a home. After that, we needed additional dining space, parking, and housing. So the project this summer will be the first phase of getting that additional dining space. For a long time during lunch, the fishbowl area has been used as basically additional dining space. And with bringing more students on campus, once St. Luke's College of Health Sciences is here full time, we'll basically need to convert the fishbowl to dining space 100% of it. So phase one will be renovating the current Thomas More Dining Room and the fishbowl into one space. So the walls between those two spaces will be torn down. The ceiling will be torn out. All of the finishes inside of that space will completely be redone this summer. And by the time everyone comes back in August, the new Thomas More Dining Room will be completed. So there'll be all new flooring. We're reusing seating. There'll be additional seating. There'll be new stations for students to enjoy inside the cafeteria. And probably the biggest change is the current ceiling will be taken out, and we're going to expose the structure above it. So the space will feel a lot more open and inviting. So we're very excited about that project. It'll get quite a bit done. That's phase one. And so we'll leave it with operation during the school year. And then next summer, the summer of 2022, that's when we'll remodel the Einstein space to be a flex space. So currently right now it's Einstein's popular place for obviously breakfast and study, for breakfast through lunch, but then it's closed down. And now it'll be used throughout the day. So we think it'll be overall a positive. I know Einstein's is a very positive, a very popular space for students, and we think right now we'll cover a lot of the needs of the students, and also get additional use out of the space later in the day.
Yeah, I would definitely, I truly commend you all for all the work that you all are doing on that. I remember seeing kind of like a simulation video of the new CAF, and I just absolutely really like it. I'm even implementing more high top tables, more booths, because I know a lot of students like that, and being able to sit with more than just two people. So I definitely believe that it would be something very beneficial to not only campus, but then also the entire student experience. So I can't wait to see the reactions from students, especially since now this year, many students haven't seen how the CAF is supposed to look. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be a big change. It'll be a big change for sure.
So aside from, Sedgwick being redone, and then the cafeteria upgraded. Is there anything else that students can expect in the next couple years?
Yeah, we've got plenty of going on. As I listed those 4 things we needed, academic space, dining space, parking, and housing. We've addressed the first 2, and the parking and housing are something we're currently working on a project that will hopefully start sometime in the next year. We're calling it the Paseo Project, and it'll basically be additional parking on campus, as well as right around 230 additional beds, so residential housing on campus. And so we're currently in the design phase. We've reached out to some students in other groups to kind of get some initial feedback. And so that process will take place over the course of the spring and summer. We'll continue that. And then we should have a better idea for overall timeline once the fall comes around. But it will be brand new housing that will be inside of the space with some styles of residential living that don't currently exist. So obviously inside of our residence halls, Corcoran and McGee, you share rooms with somebody else, but then you have, public bathrooms that you get to share with everyone, so that will change in the new building. It'll be a little bit more of suite or apartment style living. So you'll still have a shared bedroom in one of the styles, but 4 people will have a shared bathroom. So instead of having public bathroom spaces, you'll have private bathrooms inside of the space. And then there'll be some varying degrees of other rooms that are similar, but with slight adjustments to the current experience inside of THB and Rock Row. So there'll be, 4-person living, but with private bedrooms and then, a shared bathroom inside the space.
A big part about a lot of construction that's been taking place on campus, Jason, there's been so many talks about Excel and the renovations that are going to be taking place there over the next year or so, or what might already be there. Can you talk a little bit more about not just those plans, the designing process, and about how all of that came into fruition with Excel and that renovation?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, with part of the new Paseo project, the new building would essentially be a replacement for Excel. So the goal would be by the time that the new building comes online, which tentatively we're kind of planning for the fall of 2023 is what we're hoping. We still need to figure out that time frame. But once that comes online, then we won't have housing inside of Excel anymore. Now, whether that means that we remove Excel or we repurpose it, I don't know the answer to that question yet. We're still kind of figuring that out. But the plan would be once the Paseo project and the new housing is done, is that we wouldn't currently have to use Excel for housing in the future.
Are there potential options for what Excel could be used as if, not used for housing?
Yeah, I mean, we've yet to explore them, but there's there's office space or other potential space that we've kind of thrown ideas out there. Right now, our focus is kind of on what's the new housing going to look like and getting that project done. I think once we have a better idea for what that project looks like, then we'll kind of really dive into Excel and, whether it stays and remains as repurposed to something else or whether it goes away. So it's still yet to be determined. The reason why we decided to move away from Excel as housing is the single biggest thing that is tough with Excel is it has very short ceilings. And that's the one thing when you're remodeling that you can't really change. So we were worried if we tried to remodel it as housing, it could, while it could work, it would still feel very small in there. So we felt the best idea for doing it was to replace Excel with new housing, and then we can continue to imagine what that space might be in the future.
Awesome. I definitely think that would be a great idea, especially just having different types of housing, especially as maybe since the people that live in Excel were mostly sophomores, juniors, so they kind of, I would assume, sometimes wanted a different style rather than just our regular residence hall that we already have in McGee and Corcoran. And then, so I'm guessing with this new plan that you guys have will have like a new sort of entrance on campus then, since we'll have like a building there?
Yeah, so the goal would be is right now our back is kind of to the Paseo. So the goal would be to really open up the Paseo entrance back there between THV and what will be this new project. And the new project, I didn't mention it, will be the planned location is where the current tennis courts are at. So it'll replace the where the current tennis courts are. So that would really be a second entrance to campus off the Paseo. Right now, we're exploring options to make, so 53rd Street is what goes in between XL and the tennis courts right now. It's one way for half of it, so it's a little bit cumbersome. We're exploring ideas to increase the width of that street so that we can get parallel parking along both sides and have it be a two-way street. So I think that would help quite a bit with the access and to truly make that east side of campus a second entrance into Rockhurst.
Jason, this is fantastic information. I just want to thank you again for coming on, talking with us today. Best of luck with all these projects. It sounds like you got your hands full for the next few years, that's for sure. So again, thank you, and thanks for all you're doing to help our campus continue to grow.
Thank you very much for the time, and we enjoy being busy. So the next 2 years will be a lot of fun. So
Thank you
All
so
right.
much for coming.
Thanks, Jason.
yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it. So I appreciate the time today. Good luck, everyone, with finals. So
Thank you so much.
all right,
Appreciate
thanks.
it.
So outside of the buildings, literally between two of the buildings that we've been talking about in the quad was the host for a large portion of RockStock this past weekend. RockStock is a festival for students, festival, carnival, whatever you want to call it. Typically highlighted by a concert. In the past, there's been Dan and Shay. Other artists who have been here to Rockhurst have been Young the Giant with Public, All American Rejects, Andy Grammer, Cat Dahlia, Plain White Tees. Where it goes from here, we don't know, but it's typically one of the highlights of the academic year. Mostly held outdoors this year due to the pandemic, and you had to wear masks, social distance, which we're all kind of used to right now. But I guess the question of the day is, how was it?
So yes, I went to RockStock, and so a little bit of background. I'm a sophomore, so my freshman year got cut short, so I did not get to experience RockStock. So I didn't have any preconceived notions or expectations, which I guess was kind of nice. But overall, I really liked the event, and there was a lot of different like carnival games, food options, and the prizes were amazing. There was an iPad, an Apple Watch, a 6-person tent, a Kate Spade set. Like, it was amazing prizes. It was amazing. So like the games was really fun, and I was hanging out with 2 of my friends, and they also had a skating rink, and so we did that for a little bit. And then outside on Lower Burke, which is right in front of the party barn actually, and across from Corcoran Hall, they had a big stage set up, which it kind of threw me off because I don't know, I've never seen something like that on Rockhurst campus. And they had lights and confetti and fog, so it was really cool. It was a great experience. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how things will open up for next year, and just all the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I agree with Brie. I think it went really well for me. And I guess for the seniors, it's definitely a different experience. And this was only my second rock stock because I didn't go sophomore year. I believe I had to work that day, so I wasn't able to go. So, I mean, my only references to RockStock are freshman year and senior year, and they are completely different. But I mean, yeah, kind of Rio talked about everything. It was really fun. I really liked that they had different activities for everyone. And I'm just really thankful that they were able to do something, even if it's not as big as it. I mean, I still think it was quite big because they had a lot of different activities. And normally, at least how it was my freshman year, it was just a concert. So it was exactly where it was, like in Lower Burke. And the stage was very, very big. It was bigger than it was on Friday. And obviously everyone, it was like crammed, like everyone. I remember I had to get there. I went with my friends freshman year, and we got there maybe like an hour before the concert started. and we were like front row, so we had to wait a really long time. But it got super, 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 super crowded. You couldn't even move. So that was different. Obviously, with COVID, you can't do that. But it was still very fun. I liked that I really enjoyed like the carnival games. I thought that was pretty cool. And then they had someone, I can't quite remember, like a cartoon. I didn't get to do it because the line was so long, but they would like withdraw you and your friends.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
not sure what it's called.
I forgot the name of it too. But it was really cool. The line was long for that.
So I didn't get to do it because I got there later. But people really liked that. They had food as well, and then they had like a food truck. Well, it was like I can't. It was like dessert or something like that. But
Ice. It was like a
ice cream.
ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can just like pour your own like syrup and everything like that.
Yeah. And then I think that was kind of cool that they had the roller skating. I would have done it. I don't know how to roller skate. That's why I didn't go, but I would have done it if I knew. I definitely would have done it. It seemed like people had a lot of fun. So I guess like if you're not just a music person, this RockStock was kind of cool because you had a lot of different options and you didn't have to stay for everything. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do next year too. I think it's still fun, especially I feel like with that pandemic, and I know the people that Holly Sullivan, I just want to give her a shout out because she was the one that planned RockStock, and she did an amazing job. And I know she was super, super stressed this past whole month. But yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah, they absolutely did. It was really nice because like, especially since the pandemic started, and I'm an RA, so I don't really see a lot of my people in my class that much because I'm in a first year hall. But it was nice seeing people that I haven't seen in a long time, and they were out on the quad or like skating around. So it was a really nice experience. And even just hearing that like RockStock used to just be a concert, but they were able to open it up and have more options. I'm just excited and really curious on the creativity for next year as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. Maybe next year, yeah, they could always implement the carnival part as well instead of it just being like a concert. Or, I mean, I guess there's so many different options that they could do.
Absolutely, that'd be nice. Probably the first half carnivals and maybe the second half end off on the concert.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
for sure. And Jared, maybe you'll get next year for sure. You'll get to go finally.
I had a question for you guys about it though. What was because honestly, like I'm seeing it, gosh, it just like so much fun. I was so glad that you guys got to experience that. In the midst of everything that's been going on this year, I feel like, you know, maybe specifically for you, America, it was a good like last hurrah, you know, especially with graduation coming up soon. It was great to have that. But what would you feel for both of you guys was, I guess, the best part about it? Was it the games, the ice skating? Was it, you know, the music, the crowd and being there and it jumping? Or what was the best part about RockStock for both of you guys?
I think for me, the best part was just getting to see kind of what we were saying, getting to see people that I hadn't seen, a lot of seniors that I hadn't seen in a really long time. There were also a lot of people I didn't know because there were a lot of freshmen there, so I didn't really know them. But yeah, just getting to do something, honestly, at this point, I feel like they could have done anything, and I would have been like, this is fun. Because we haven't had like activities. So I think it's just cool that we got to do something like that in the middle of a pandemic, and how they planned it and had so many activities. I do think the carnival games were, I really enjoyed that part. When I was in grade school, our last day of school was always like carnival day, and we would have a bunch of like games. Yeah, and then middle school as well. And I really liked that. That was my favorite part. So that kind of brought me back. I was like, I'm a senior in college, and my college did like a carnival day. I feel like I don't know how many schools can say that, but it was fun. I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I would say that, and not even to be a copycat, but that's so true. Like, I can't say that I like the concert the best or the skating the best. It was honestly just being able to do something and being able to see so many people. I was able to see an old friend from freshman year who doesn't go to Rockhurst anymore, but each Rockhurst student was able to bring a guest. And so that was a lot of fun. And I brought a guest, and their school hasn't had a lot of restrictions. Like they haven't even experienced something like this in such a long time. So it was just nice being able to hang out with friends and just to do all those different things. I really commend them for the prizes. The prizes were really nice. I didn't win anything, but the idea of winning one of those prizes was really nice. So yeah, but I would definitely say just seeing everyone. It was such a great time.
No, yeah, I agree. And I think also just this is what Rockhurst is really like. Like when we have events, obviously normally there's actually more people, but that's really what it's like. So I'm glad that the freshmen and even like the sophomore class kind of got to experience that, because I feel like especially as a freshman, I bet it would be hard being new to college during a pandemic, when you really have no idea what a college is like. So that this is really what it's like. You really do get to see everyone all the time. I mean, pre-pandemic, I would see so many people, I mean, every day, and there would be events throughout the whole year and so many people would go. So this is really what it's like. This is how it should be. So I'm glad that they at least kind of got to have like a small idea of maybe what it's going to be like next year and how it is normally. This is what the Rockhurst community is normally like.
It's a nice break to have it here at the end of the year too, with exams coming up, and we'll talk about exams specifically in a little bit. But as part of the I Wish I Knew segment, and last episode, our I Wish I Knew segment was about stressors and coping with stress and things like that. And related to that is the listener submitted topic of mental health and mental health on college campuses, and how does Rockhurst kind of address that. Our initiatives in this area as a university are obviously extremely important, and it doesn't necessarily begin and end with the counseling center. There's also organizations, but just also the fact that we acknowledge that mental health is important. It's a concern, it's legitimate, it's very, very normal. America, you just mentioned being a freshman on campus in a pandemic. It's not really what Rockhurst life is really like this year. And I know from doing some reading just across the country, freshmen have really struggled this year. And of course, it's not just limited to freshmen, but there are some resources out there at Rockhurst and organizations. And would you guys just be willing to talk a little bit about what you've kind of seen as being available or used, or whatever you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, so I would definitely say the Counseling Center, first and foremost, is definitely a great resource. I've met Dr. Darden and Dr. Pearson. They're amazing people, easy to talk to, and I believe they may have an intern on their staff now. I'm not quite sure. But yes, you're able to make appointments, and it's really relaxed. I would say that definitely, like, if you feel like, I don't want to go in and make an appointment, you can send them an email. You can just go from there. So that's definitely one option that's available. And then also we have Active Minds here on campus. They do a lot of different things regarding mental health, making sure that they give those resources and all those different things. So if you ever want to get connected to specifically mental health resources, Active Minds is also a great organization for that as well.
Yeah, and then one thing I want to point out about the counseling center is that they deal with many different things. So even if you are just having problem with like procrastination, especially sometimes as a freshman, it can be hard to adjust to college coursework, and they deal with that, or just really stress management. So I mean, it doesn't just have to be more serious issues, which they definitely can be. But sometimes I feel like people are like, well, this isn't worth going to the counseling center for, or maybe they think that it's not something that they deal with, but definitely they do. So if you are having with problems like that, even just stress, I think it's always a great idea to go to the counseling center for that. And I know Active Minds, they have a big event every year called, if I'm not mistaken, Be the Light, where they have student testimonies. And I know that's one of the biggest events that they have, and other organizations. I know in Student Senate, we would always try to end our meetings early so we could all attend.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, another big shout out to Active Minds. I know when I got to campus as a freshman, I was very intrigued by what they were doing, seeing just the progress of what they've been doing not just on our college campus, because I learned that it is a national organization as well. And one of the things, America was just talking about, that thing they do called Be the Light. And since then, I've noticed they started to do these things on IG Live, where they go on and every once in a while they make a common thing where someone comes up and they give a testimony. And what that does, what I believe it does, is it implies that there is strength and vulnerability. You make yourself vulnerable when you go up on a platform in front of people, regardless of how many people are there. And you're just talking about your highs, your lows. You're talking about, your struggles, your strengths, and your weaknesses. And to show that their strength and vulnerability is one of the most powerful things I believe any human being can have. And it's a blessing to see, a group of college kids coming together to help normalize that idea. I feel like that's the best part about not just mental health in college, because mental health is always something that you're going to have to pay attention to, from where you're at now, even when you're younger, all the way until you're a lot older. It's always something that you're going to have to put effort into, I believe. So normalizing and ending the stigma around mental health starts with, a group like Active Minds. It starts with even us coming together right now just to talk about it, and I hope that everybody is making it through their journeys as they hope to.
Absolutely, Jared. And I feel like something that I really want to stress, I know most people listening are probably Rockhurst students or prospective Rockhurst students, but I would definitely like to stress to whether you're a parent, guardian, family member, or even friends of college students, especially as we're coming back home from a very long and stressful semester, it's very important to ask us how we're doing. Instead of the first question is, how was your grades? What did you get? Are you on the dean's list? I think it's important just to show and give that support to college students, because it has been a very tough semester and a tough year, especially going through and in the midst of a pandemic. But being able to point out and being able to be aware that a lot of students, a lot of people on campus struggle with mental health, it's definitely important to pay attention to. So that's definitely something I just wanted to stress.
That's so true. And I feel like, because sometimes people get confused when it talks about, mental health, and wondering what are some outlets that you can use. Is it just, going to see therapists? Is it going to the counseling center? Is it, joining a club or an organization like Active Minds? Another big outlet that at first I was a little bit interested in it for myself, but once I got into it and once I was blessed with an opportunity, I saw that another big way to help immerse yourself and normalize the idea of taking care of your mental health is through the arts. As I said, an organization that I want to bring down to campus in the fall, that I will be bringing down, is called Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health. And it was something I have a podcast that I do on Instagram Live, and I was looking to interview somebody about mental health last summer. And one of my friends, who's a photographer for this organization, he connected me with this guy that runs it, what I'm talking about. And essentially the idea of what they're trying to do is normalize therapy. And so as I got involved with it, I started volunteering with him and seeing, the disparities between not just mental health for everybody, but especially in underrepresented minority communities where some of this stuff flourishes, because there's a lack of resources. Because a lot of things that people don't realize is that mental health, sadly, it costs a lot of money. And I don't like that. I do believe that in order for us to normalize this idea of mental health, it has to be not just made affordable, but it has to be made convenient for everybody. That's the only way that you can truly end a stigma, is to make it convenient for anybody to get a hold of. I'm somebody, I'm hungry. If I leave my house right now, there's about 15 different restaurants in a 2-minute radius of where I live. How many mental health clinics, right? How many societies are there just within a 10, 20-minute radius for me to take advantage of? Probably not enough for me to count on one hand. So you have to make things convenient. So my work with that organization and learning about how to end that stigma, the CEO himself, named Chris, he's a rapper. And he always talks about how through his music and through his journey through the arts, he was able to find himself, to be true to who he was. And so an idea of not just bringing this to campus is to host, one part of it is open mics where people can, perform music, they can act, do skits, play an instrument, and then after, end with healthy dialogue about certain things that have to do with not just your mental health, but how you see things with other people. That's another way that you help to destigmatize mental health and everything around it. Is, as I said, not only do you make it convenient, but the arts is another really good way to get that across. So I hope to see that as well. And for anyone that has questions about that, feel free to reach out to me or anyone else.
Thanks for sharing, Jarrett, and everyone. Now, of course, with stress, college, you always think of finals. Finals are going on right now. And in this week's segment of I Wish I Knew, we kind of look back on when you guys entered college. How did you prepare for exams? How did you take exams versus how you do it now? And what did you wish you knew back then that you do know now? Any tips or hacks that you can share for anyone who may be listening?
I would say that for exams, don't be afraid to reach out to professors because they may give you an inch. You may want a foot, but they'll give you just a little inch of that information that you need to know. I would say just asking questions. It's never too late to ask questions. Even if you feel like you procrastinated the whole semester, at least try to make that step and put yourself forward. And then I would say being able to know your strengths and your weaknesses. So for instance, when it comes to studying, are you truly able to study with a group of people without getting distracted? Or is it best for you to study by yourself? You may miss out, have that fear of missing out a little bit, but if that's better for your grades and if that's better for you as an individual to make sure you can do the best as you can on your exams, then that's kind of probably the route that you should take. And getting adequate sleep. I'm definitely a hypocrite for saying that because I don't get adequate sleep, but I definitely believe that if I were to get better sleep, that would be amazing. So that's something I wish I knew, the effect of sleep and how it's very important, especially during finals week. So.
I think some advice that I would have, and this doesn't apply to every exam you're going to have, but it would be more oriented to those who are still in high school or maybe going to be freshmen next year. I know that I had this like really bad idea of what college finals would be. I thought that they would be like the worst thing ever and almost impossible to complete. But most of the time, and like I said, does not apply to every single class, but your finals are sometimes, they're not always like cumulative, and they are kind of this, they're just maybe like the last couple of chapters that you did in that course, or it's really kind of the same difficulty as your other exams. It's not always like something completely new and different that you haven't done the whole semester. Most of the time, if you've paid attention in class and you kind of have a grasp of what you learned, your final exam shouldn't really be much more difficult. If anything, the hard part is having many in a week. And sometimes that even happens throughout the year, where I have like a lot of things to do. And they're not all exams. A lot of the classes, they do like projects, or sometimes it's on your own time as well. So it's not all terrible. Maybe there is a semester. I feel like we all had one semester in college when it definitely was a really hard like finals week. But for most of the time, it's quite varied, and you're not having like so many things in one single day. You're not taking like 4 final exams in one day. So don't be nervous. I guess that would be my advice. Don't be nervous. Just pay attention. If you do well during the semester, then you'll be fine for your final exam.
Very true.
It's definitely true. Both you guys had some really thoughtful input on that in preparation for it. One thing I'll say, and definitely I know where I was as a freshman, I feel like I was a little bit surprised because I put so much of my time just worrying about exams. When in reality, I didn't feel as if much was truly different between, I guess, the rigor of a class, right, and the exams that you take in high school to what it is in college, except for the idea that it's just, a different class. And the only reason I say that is because I feel like it gave me so much unnecessary stress. I was like, oh my gosh, when the reality was like, just study. Like you study in high school, study as you do in college, because that's what you've done, throughout the entirety of the class. At least you should have been. And even if you aren't, because I did know some people, and it is possible, if you feel like you're not doing the best in the class, to ramp it up for a final, you can definitely do that. I believe it's within every individual to put the work in required to get the grade that they want. If that's what they desire, they just have to do it. So yeah, my best advice to anybody, regardless of what grade level you're at, is to not really be too worked up about the idea of, final exam, especially if you're a freshman or going to be a freshman in the fall of 2021 about, oh my gosh, this is my first week of exams in college. It's come with the same approach, believe in yourself. And, we talked about mental health a little bit earlier. I believe another thing that's helping me out sometimes is to reward myself. So let's say I have an exam tomorrow. After I do my exam tomorrow, I'm going to go to Gates and get me some barbecue. Like I'm being hypothetical. I'm rewarding myself. I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to the museum with some friends and hang out and just talk, or watch TV, watch the game, grab a bite to eat. Reward yourself for the studies that you put in during the semester, because not only do I believe is that going to help you out, but it's going to motivate you to do better when you have the opportunity again, so just keep all that in mind. You got to find a balance, and if you think about these things, you apply yourself, you can surely do it.
I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, don't get worked up like you were saying, but if you do want like your grade to improve, your final exam can definitely help. Not all courses, like the final exam is worth in some classes it's worth quite a bit of your grade, and others it's not like as much as you would expect it to be. But in many classes, I know like if you're like, wow, I just really, maybe I have like, I don't know, B+ and I want an A- or A. If you try really hard, sometimes you can't get your grade up for one exam. So, I mean, there is the benefit to studying a lot for that last exam if you can improve your grade.
Absolutely. And if things feel like they're piling up, I would say something that I wish I knew last year. I have a few, it's kind of half and half. Some are exams and some are final reports and final papers. I've noticed that it's just way easier to do the papers first. I know, for instance, my professors lately, they've released like the prompts for the final papers. So you don't necessarily have to wait until that last hour, that exact time to turn it in. You can turn it in earlier than that. And then you won't have to worry about all the papers. All the papers are out the way. So that's also something that I wish I knew.
Great advice, guys. Good discussion this week. That's all the time we have for episode number 13 of the RockCast. Thanks everyone for joining us. You can find us again on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, comment, all that good stuff. To watch the discussion, you can see this on our YouTube page, youtube.com/RockersTalk. So for Bree and Jarrett and America and Jason Riordan, this is Chad Schnarr. Have a great week and Google Hawks.